Welcome to the Whurthy Services training video series. This is Module 2, the Service Provider's Experience. In this fourth video, we are going to walk through Service Provider Setup. We'll start by adding a service provider, then we'll edit a service provider, and then we'll review deleting service providers. So as is always the case when you want to manage information related to administration, we're going to look to the right-hand sidebar and then look down to the link. And in this case, we're using the label of service provider. So service provider shows us the link, but again, don't forget that depending on the labels that you choose, this link may read differently. So I'm going to click on the service providers link. And this takes me to the list view for service providers. So before we add a service provider, I'm just going to review this list view briefly. So we can see here a link to the service provider's name along with their location. So this is just designed to support those organizations that have a lot of service providers and want to be able to locate them. And so here there's the show details checkbox to the right. So I'm going to check on that. And now the information around the services they offer, the days they're available, and so on are displayed. And now I'm going to click on the Add Service Provider button. And so with this Add Service Provider form, we're going to walk through the various fields. First of all, we enter the name of the service provider. This name entered here will be displayed to customers accessing Whurthy. The service provider name entered here can be different from the name entered into the service provider's user profile. This is a required field. In other words, if you entered a name for your profile, a first and last name, you can simplify this just as a first name, for example, as we've done. So I'm going to do a demo. And then we have to select the service provider's account. Now, the list of accounts here are only those accounts that are of the staff security level. We're going to review about making account staff and other aspects of user security in another video. So don't worry about that for now. But if you can't find the person that you're looking for to add them to this list, then that's just indicating you need to go to their profile and make them staff. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick this account here. And so next we get the option to enter the service provider's phone number and if applicable, their extension. For privacy reasons or to centralize communication, the organization's reception number can be entered here. The phone number entered will be displayed to customers accessing Whurthy. And again, this is optional. Then we get to select the location. And so I'm going to place this service provider into Ocean View. And then we have the option of entering the email. If an email is entered here, it will be displayed to customers. If no email is entered, then no email will be displayed to customers accessing Whurthy. This allows for the option of privacy for service providers if desired. Another privacy option is to enter a centralized email address such as services@ourorg.com. Beneath this, then we get to select the services that are offered. Just a note here, you can select any service that is not a package. And so I'm going to go ahead and just select one service. Then we get to enter the service provider description. Now, within the system, we've created a templated description bio with a photograph. And so whilst Whurthy doesn't accept the upload directly of images, you can upload pictures to an online service, image server, and then place them inside this field here. So this field is called turnaround time. So I'm going to read the description. Selecting yes for turnaround time, so it's a no or a yes field. Selecting yes for a turnaround time will add a 15-minute gap for the service provider after any booking. If you leave this set to no, then bookings can be scheduled immediately after another booking is scheduled to end. Please note that any breaks, an optional setting, which we'll be reviewing further down, established for a service provider will not factor into this calculation. In other words, the assumption is that if turnaround time is needed, it will only apply to the service provider's closing time and consecutive bookings. Turnaround time is designed to help with more complex service delivery requiring extra preparation to help ensure that customers aren't left waiting while the service provider catches up, and provides the service provider with some room to breathe on busy days. So, for example, if you are a massage therapist and you're working in one room and you need time to turn the bed and to give yourself a break, then you can add turnaround time, and it will always allow that 15-minute space. In other words, what Whurthy will do when turnaround time is set as yes, Whurthy will effectively prevent that opening from appearing. And so scrolling down, we come to the next section, edit opening hours. And so while there are opening hours at the event settings level that apply to every service provider, each service provider can enter their own opening or working hours. Here we just simply click on this symbol here, or we can click right inside the field. We've got up and down chevrons. It's automatically inserting the current time. So for example, if we wanted to start at 10 a.m., I'd select 10 and then 00. We can also increment by minutes, but that may work well. And then we can do the end time here, maybe through till 7 p.m., for example, or 7:30. And so you can just fill each of those in. Okay, so that covers the opening hours. And there are a few rules when you are trying to create a service provider. The start and the end time cannot be outside of the global opening hours. You have to enter both a start and an end time. If you make a mistake in editing opening hours, then a red flash message will appear at the top of the form. And so the final section is the break hours. So I'm just going to quickly flip over to event settings here, just to show you that in the Whurthy Services Active, there is a setting for display service provider breaks. If this is set to no, then those break hours won't appear. And the idea for this is that maybe breaks are just not relevant given the hours that are working, or whatever the reasons might be. We have given the opportunity to hide or to display those service provider breaks. So here, when I edit the break hours, there are for each of the 7 days in the week, is a break one start and a break one end, and a lunch start and a lunch end, and then a break two start and a break two end. The basic idea behind this is you can select then. So if, for example, we've got this service provider starting at 10 a.m., then you might decide to have the first break at 3 p.m. or maybe 2 p.m. and then have a 15-minute break. So that would show from 2 till 2:30, and then maybe have a break at 1600. Your lunch till 16:30, and then have break two. If we just check the time at the end there, let's push this out a little. Let's make this to 8:30. So then 8:30, 16. Let's go with 18 and 18, 15. So in this way, it gives you complete flexibility. Now, as you enter in these times, do bear in mind that Whurthy Services and its time scheduling works around 15-minute increments. So if you enter a time that is less than 15 minutes, or if the overall duration is less than 15 minutes, then Whurthy would just count it as a 15-minute break. So the advice is for clarity, just to enter times on the hour and the quarter, half, and three-quarter hours. And these are completely optional. If I have these fields blank, then this service provider will have a lunch time and a second break time. And if I have the break two fields blank, then there is just a lunch time. This will allow you to enforce those breaks, and the Whurthy searching of openings will take these breaks into account. And so I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to create the service provider. And so now we can see it's giving me a message, and I did wonder about that. So I'm going to go ahead and select demo client. In other words, I've selected an account that already is associated with a service provider. So I'll just select demo client and click on create service provider again. So I'm going to return back to service providers now to show you another element of Whurthy. So now we can see here, now that I've added this third service provider, you'll notice this add service provider button is no longer has a drop shadow around it. It looks flat and it doesn't have that vibrant green color. This button is disabled. And so we can see a message here. Your license allows for up to 3 service providers. If you wish to change your subscription level, please submit a support request. So this is the way that licensing is managed inside Whurthy services. And so if you want to free up a licensed seat, as it were, if you want to free up a service provider seat, then I can just come into the CareWin record and then I can delete the service provider. What it will do is it will check if there are event bookings as per services and locations. And I'm going to go ahead now and delete that. And so now I have that add service provider button appearing again. And that concludes our review of service provider setup. Whurthy, value made easy.